All right, welcome back to the show. It's me, Hugh, and of course,
DBoss. Yep, you're here today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got a great guy here, Tom Gannon, author.
Tom Gannon, doctor.
Author.
He's an author, but he's a doctor.
Oh, he's a doctor. Yes, Dr. Tom.
Dr. Tom Gannon Hamilton. There he is.
There he is. Hi.
I call him
Hi.
Tom because I actually know him. Right, Tom? And I'm very happy to have met you and become friends with you. So welcome to the show.
Oh, I remember you. I remember you.
But we know that you're an all-around entertainer, but today we're going to focus on, because you have a lot of things to say. So we're going to focus with you today on your books, how you got started in the industry, and your poems and all that other stuff.
And I'm just going to show this. This is the book, the one we're talking about currently, called Panoptic.
No, right? That was my first book.
Oh, this is your first book. Okay.
Yeah, that was my first book.
All right. So you got more than one. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yes. Yeah, the one that's coming up is my second major collection. I had a chapbook before that was my first thing that went to press, and it also won an award, won the Big Pond Rumors Poetry Chapbook Award. And this is the Aeolus House Press. They produce their books out of this. They're printed in this beautiful old place down on BP Nickel Lane. It's called Coach House Press, and that's the venerable press in Canada. It's produced so many books for so many of our poets.
Well,
and,
I do remember
other writers. Right?
Yeah, I remember House Press. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Aeolus House Press, and Aeolus House Press is also associated with Quattro Books. So Quattro Books, Aeolus House Press, they do such a good job that on my second time out, I really, really wanted the quality that I had in my first book. I wanted that to continue. So really, it looks like I have two books of what I think is going to be a trilogy coming out from Aeolus House Press. And yeah.
And this is poetry, right?
This is poetry.
So I'm curious. I mean, here we are. We're in the 21st century now. It's 2020. We're in the middle of the pandemic. You're just releasing a new book of poetry, and it just seems to me I would like to know your kind of what you think about the role of the poet today, especially when we think about, when we were kids, there was a generation of poets in Canada that essentially became rock stars, and I'm thinking about people like Al Purdy or Leonard Cohen, the great Canadian poets. And what's the role of the poet these days?
Actually, if anything, I think that the role of the poet has actually improved. It's actually increased. It's actually a bigger, more various kind of presence than we've ever had. I think when I look back at those people you were talking about, and I knew Irving Layton. Irving Layton was a giant of a poet here in Canada. It's always been a matter of the people's voice, a vox populi of some sort. If you think about the role of the poet is primarily to name things or describe things that haven't properly been named, haven't really adequately been named is really what I mean. Not like a proper name, but I mean, the language is always inferior to the lived experience and the demands of living in the world. The language has to constantly be worked at, has to constantly be prone to invention, and there have to be people who are willing to be in a disciplined way looking at how language is used. Now, if you look at the way language is used in most broadcasting, conventional mainstream broadcasting, it sounds a lot different than it used to 40, 50 years ago. And quite frankly, there isn't the care put into diction, into grammar, into sentence structure. There's not the discipline put into learning how to use the language in a way that's effective the way it used to be. Okay, so a lot has changed. And there are many people who would say that we're living in the kind of post-literate, right? We're not just in the postmodern, kind of in the post-literate, in the sense that the authority, the author, the idea of the expert, all of these things are being challenged. And the idea of a sorry.
Yeah, well, Tom, yeah, I know you have so much information to give everybody, and it's great. But we just want to stay focused on what you're going to be talking about. And also, you know, people, you're a musician,
Mm-hmm.
you're a writer, and then you also did acting in Murdoch series, correct?
Yeah, I've had acting roles. I've had a musical agent for a while, but I also have an acting and television agent, and that was very good because as a special skills extra, I was able to get in as a violinist into Murdoch Mysteries, but I also was on American Gods, a Netflix series, and I even had a minor role in The Shape of Water, the movie The Shape of Water.
Oh, The Shape of Water. What was that about?
Well, it swept the Oscars in 2018. Kind of complex, but the scene that I won't give it too much of it away because of it,
Okay.
I want to see it. But the scene I'm in is essentially a dance scene with a swamp monster.
A dance scene.
Yeah,
I like swamp
dance scene with what looked like the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh my God!
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we gotta go look at. Everybody's gotta go watch that one with you.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you're given these roles, you don't know. Question it. You just show up. You wear a clean shirt. You know, Buddy Rich used to have this expression. He said, "Wear a clean shirt, be on time, and play your ass off." You know, it does. I think he was kind of right. You know, the clean shirt.
Why do you need a clean shirt, though?
Well, if there's a kind of an offense that can occur, but anyway, so you want to talk about the new book?
Well, listen, I got to pick. I want to show the new book here, Tom.
Okay, all right.
I got here. There's the cover.
Yeah. Yes.
And the mezzo soprano dines alone, and let's talk about the title. Let's talk about the artwork. Let's talk about the book.
Yeah.
Tom, it looks amazing.
Oh, thanks. Thank you very much. Well, that beautiful design. Well, yeah, I painted it, but Ivy Rice, who hosts the Artis, and is also the author of this book, There Is a Place. She designed the book, right? So you can thank her. She has amazing design ability, as you can see. And she took an original multimedia piece of art, because this art is, I use acrylic, I use pen and ink, I use, whatever I feel that the image is asking for, right? So in this particular case, now the mezzo soprano in this particular case is looking a little bit dishy, as one person put it. And there's a reason for that, but you can kind of find that in the book. The book is about the ways in which the military, the bellicose, whatever you want to call it, the effects of war that are far more ranging than just that which happens in scenes of actual battle scenes or conflicts of that nature, right? And it begins with the understanding that there really is no DMZ, there's no demilitarized zone, right? So to take that phrase and to critique it and to understand, so that there are many points in my book that talk about places that are peacetime. Supposedly, they're time spaces that are supposedly, or we might imagine, were peacetime. And if you can imagine the beginning of a film where there are some small kids on a street corner, and one of them comes up and says, "My brother says that his best friend was blown up." Now, normally we would say, okay, that's the kids are playing. They're playing war, and so was just blown up. But the fact is that when in 1963, one of my friend's older brothers was blown up. He found a mortar. Actually, he didn't find the mortar on the testing range. Another one of three boys did. And the other one said the one who was leading the group, there was two Cub Scouts and a Boy Scout. The Boy Scout leading it, he had a hatchet. He tapped on it, and he killed himself instantly. And he killed one of the Cub Scouts behind him. Shrapnel pierced his heart, and there was one survivor. Okay, so that was an episode from my childhood from Vernon, BC. The army base on the side of the hill was only 12, 15 years before that in use as an internment camp for the Japanese who had been removed from the coast and deported inwards or inland. Okay, so there's this throughout the book. What I do is I focus on scenes of actual conflict where there's armed civil conflict, but in other situations, I'm talking about places that people assume to be peacetime moments in history.
Yeah.
That you scratch the surface, and there's a lot more going on there than meets the eye. Anyway, that's content-wise. There's a lot in my book that is concerned with that.
So it's interesting that this book is coming out in this year of COVID, and it seems to me that there's, almost everybody's got a different take on what's going on with this COVID situation. I'm curious, what's your take on it? What do you think's going on, Tom?
Well, I used to study paleopathology and cultural epidemiology, and one of the things that you understand historically is that pandemics are a thing that does occur, but it occurs a major pandemic of this nature occurs only so many generations, and this is problematic in the sense that that from one generation to the next, the understanding of history is limited, right? Okay, so first of all, I would like to be able to bring the lens, which is a broader historical lens, to the current situation, so that people don't just think that this is a completely unique scenario, right? You go back to Athens, and you'll see 2,000, 3,000 years ago in Athens, you'll see a pandemic that was written about, that there were lots of eyewitness survivors who talked about it, right? Who wrote about it, right? And so on and so forth throughout history. Do you know that in 1348, the 1345, the population of London was twice that of what it was in 1348. And that's because within the span of a few months, the population of London, which was in the tens of thousands, was cut in half. Okay, so they went from something like 80,000 people to 40,000 people within 1 month, right? And that was the bubonic plague, right? So when people talk about the conditions as they are and the responses to it, and many of the speculations that fly about and become part of cultural lore, some of it akin to alligators in sewers, this sort of thing. You're talking about urban folk. You're talking about a lot of stimulated discourse, which a lot of that discourse is it just follows the same kinds of narratives that have always existed when people don't know exactly what's going on, right? It's hard for people to imagine what's going on in the biological world, but each one of us is an environment for millions of microorganisms that are, technically speaking, not us, right? So what's my take on it? My take is multi-tiered. I have an epidemiological take on it, but I have a social take on it. I have an economic take on it. I have a political take on it, right? Which one of those takes would you like to hear about?
Well, have you got a poem that will sum it all up?
A poem. Okay. Actually, yeah, I could go to the first poem in this book. Because the first poem in the book does kind of sum it all up in a way.
And hold the book up too for us, Tom, just so
I
we
don't
can
have,
see that
it's not up for press
oh,
yet. It's going to press in it's going to press in 1 week perhaps. But that's what it's going to look like. And you're going to be able to you can get it directly from me if you want at my email address, and I'll send it to you. That's how easy it is. But I'll read you a poem, the first poem.
Love to hear one.
In the book. Okay.
Yeah.
The name of this poem is Pity the Night. Pity the night. Have sympathy for darkness in wan decline. Tragic pallor. When morning breaks into chill sweat, stark truth dawns on a dew-soaked, quilted field. Ruthless fever and sun rise above wetlands, evaporate our fine fen. Use that white cumulus batting to staunch hemorrhagic light until skies are congealed. Then sedate the torn horizon, treat bruised hills, dress their blue contusions, be gentle with broken day. Mend it as one would a meadowlark wing. Tend blistering afternoon, the same tender way you bandage a hand. Harbor mercy toward inflamed evening. Pour compassion upon each remaining hour, since we know every vesper bell will soon toll our waning 24. Show the lone shadow a caring face. Nurse those diurnal burns, twilight injuries, wounds which never close, but bleed into grievous nocturnes. Thus, out of glaring need, or by grace, night returns, as does love, only to leave us again.
We're speechless.
Well, you know, the poem, you know, these poems, and you've been writing poems from 9 years old.
Yes.
Like, and how did you know that you were going to be, you know, I know at 9, you know, how did that all come about? Like at 9 years old, you just said, oh, you know what? I'm going to write a poem.
At age 9, I'd come out of a major depression. In those days, people didn't think that children could suffer from depression. But in retrospect, years later, as I look back on it, I realized how deep in the pit I actually was. The pit of depression was debilitating, and it kept me from being able to perform adequately in school. And of course, if that was the situation, then of course my grades were low, and I was not particularly popular. I was a new kid, and I was not really particularly interested in having too much more of what I had already experienced in a school. And so I was very depressed. And I say very depressed because it's only really coming out of it that I realized how badly depressed I was. Coming out of it then was a kind of an exalting epiphany, a kind of a sense of the numinous glowing and reality that was suddenly feeding me, and I was feeling really blessed, really given gifts from everywhere, and that's just the feeling of coming out of depression was an amazing, exhilarating feeling.
So Tom, yeah. So I mean, I don't know if this is on topic, but I'm just curious. What was it? What was the catalyst that brought you out of that depression at age 9?
Undoubtedly, nature, art, and a budding individualized spiritual sense.
That's cool.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you started writing poetry? Is that what it was? As a celebration? Part of the celebration of that?
I exploded. I was writing poetry. I was painting. I was playing music. I was playing violin at that point, by that time, but I was also I was really moving along as a drummer, and I was always singing, and I was often requested to sing in the classroom, which was no problem for me because I wasn't afraid at that point of really of anything, particularly not not social scrutiny. You know, how I might be judged by my peers didn't matter a hill of beans to me. And at that point, I had already been through a tremendous amount. I was used to dealing with adversaries by punching them frequently. You know, I mean, that's the way I dealt with it. I was pugilistic. I was violent. I was a violent kid. I had a sharp temper, and I was handy with my fists. Yeah. So, yeah. So no, it's the socializing aspect of it was a matter of very grave importance for me. I mean, I needed to be able to connect with people on more levels than what were being provided. Certainly, what was provided in a conventional schooling, grade school situation was hopelessly inadequate for anybody who really was creatively driven. You know, or here for creative reasons, right? I just have to say this to all artists, right? I mean, if you just look at what your day consists of, you know, coming into the day and harvesting a tremendous amount of what the social and the natural environment has to offer, and then transforming it into some form of expression that's going to mean something, that's going to increase the meaning of life for the people around you. The quality of life increases with how meaningful it is, right? You know.
So there's the book, The Mezzo Soprano Dines Alone. We're going to assume that this is available now or in the very near future. And we're going to give contact info in a couple of minutes so people can get the book directly from you if they want or from other locations. But Tom, I want to ask you, is there, like, who would be a person who would really benefit from the book or who would really appreciate the book? Is there an ideal kind of person who would benefit?
Sure. Mainly the book is concerned with conditions in the Americas and I mean broadly in the Americas and the Caribbean, and much of it is set in the Caribbean, as a matter of fact. Much of it is set in different islands in the Caribbean. Much of it is set in Central America. Those are the settings. But it also speaks to the rest of the world. It covers a lot of history, and it covers a lot of territory as well. Do you want to hear a poem? Do you have time?
Do you got a quick one?
Yeah, I do.
I know we're going to have to wrap it up, but sure, if you got a quick one, go ahead.
Okay, this goes out to all my friends all across the islands in the Caribbean. This goes back across to the Walcotts, the Louises, the Josephs, the Thomases, the Freelands, the Grays, the Clarks, all of my friends all across the Caribbean. This one's for you. This is written in honor of my friend Edgar Gray, Rasta prophet, healer, teacher, brother, and speaker of nation speech. Mad One. This Mad One come to Igalian right away. All the breadwin sure I'm run from something. I'm on know exactly what, so I'm on try and reason. But I'm just say, don't prod, man. Nighttime come, me have up a little herb, so we lick it up and give thanks and prayers. All of a sudden, this one stand up and him have a book in a man so as to read, but I tell you not a word is written on the page. All the while, you make like him really read. And lots of dread brethren, them check it out. And him just keep talking. It is like a chant. And him never cease that off, man. Long as him in the yard. Man and come. I never gone down market, see someone, I forget who it was. Just then, me look what the fire burn. And see the most dread sitting all about, just a smoke and a meditate. Well, anyway, like I man say, me have to leave out of that place so we can't say what happened. Long time passed, maybe 3 years, and then 2 Babylon come in the yard asking for Mad One, saying wanted for robbery. In truth, me say me no see Mad One all that time. So then went away. But you know, one time me do see Mad One. Hair long and him look guyry, but him can't lock shit up naughty because this one complexion is not of a proper African roots. And right then is when I'm on see the same book him now a Philip with Rasta sayings.
Okay.
Wow.
Great, Tom. Awesome. So, listen, it's been great to have you on the show. And there's the book. People can get that. Let's tell people where they can get the book.
Sure. You can talk directly to me. It's going to be available from Aeola's house. It'll eventually be available in just about any bookstore where you want to order it as well, because it will be in the national catalog, so not a problem. But my address is drtomhamilton. That's Dr. Tom Hamilton at gmail.com. And you can order it from me directly if you wish to do that.
How much is it?
Yeah, and how much, Tom?
Oh, and I believe it's going to retail for $20.
Okay. Fabulous.
That's a good price.
Okay.
All right.
So
Well,
thank you, Tom. The book looks great. The poems sound fantastic, and great
there's
to
some
have you.
illustrations in it as well. That it's not just the outside, but also the inside has been illustrated as well. Did some line drawings.
Beautiful. Well, good to have you on the show, Tom, and enjoy
You're wonderful
there up north. And thanks for doing
sharing
this today.
Sharing your book and sharing your stuff.
Exactly.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You're great, and everybody who's tuning in. Well, my hat's off to them.
All right.
Have fun.
All right. Thanks.
Have some fun.
Tom. We'll see you next time you're in town.
Yeah, we'll be right back with our next episode. Thank you.
After.
Okay. You bet.